Call meeting of the Monroe County School Board to order. Let's stand for a moment of silence and pledge the flag. Attention, salute, pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, declaration of conflict per TCA 49-2-202. Board of Education members who have relatives. Per the statute, relative means spouse, parent, parent-in-law, child, son-in-law, daughter-in-law, grandparent, grandchild, brother, sister, uncle, aunt, nephew, niece, or any person who resides in the same household as you, employed by the system, are asked to raise your hands to identify yourself. Do you certify that the votes that you make tonight will be in the best interest of the school system, regardless of the effect that your vote may have upon the employment of your relative or relatives?
I do.
All right. 8-1-3, ESSA 3.0 facilities budget planning. And we have basically got down to Plan B and Plan C, which we talked about before. And it's in your packet for tonight. And it was emailed to you some time ago. Let's see, first of all, Ms. Strickland, do you need to add anything to what we have said before?
I do not. There's another copy of the one pager that kind of has the budget breakdown. There are a few more details on there, but nothing different than what we've already discussed. Just a few details on the curriculum and learning programs, but nothing that wasn't discussed in the previous meeting.
Okay.
So the only thing, to my knowledge, that's new that needs to be debated is the facilities.
Okay. And Philip, do you have anything you want to add on what we talked about before?
No, sir.
Okay, we've got Plan B and Plan C. Do we have any comments, discussion about it? Questions?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Plan B. There's a second I'd like to speak to.
All right. The motion's on the floor for Plan B. Do I have a second?
Second.
Got several seconds. Now, let's have a discussion. You want to speak to it first?
If I might,
Go ahead.
just very briefly, these two schools are in really disrepair. One of my heroes is Philip Carroll. He holds things together around here. I don't know how he does, but he does. I know the year before last, the sewer gas was so bad in the cafeteria, the kids had to eat in the lunchroom at the middle school up here. It sounds like, we're doing all this with two schools. If you kind of stop and think about it, I think if I'm right, and you all can check me on this, that 80% of all the kids in our system will pass through one of these two schools. If you take out Sweetwater, Coastal Creek, and Monroe, that's about 80% of all our kids. We're not talking about two schools. We're talking about 80% of our kids and trying to create a better learning environment for them. So, Mr. Chairman, that's why I'm in favor of this motion. Thank you.
Anyone else have comments or questions?
I guess the reason I think it's a good plan is because those two facilities need a lot of work. We can't afford to put new buildings in right now, so we need to, do this and upgrades.
Anyone else?
Can I ask? I may have missed this when I first came in. There was in the other one. There was a word put in there, and I just was wondering about. Leanne, you said there was amendment as needed. Is that amendments the board makes, or is that something that you all make as you see fit? Go from this to that. What does amendments mean? Is it broad or is it narrow?
It's broad. It could be something that we adjust on our end if we go over in a salary line or we realize that books we're buying cost a little more than expected, we would amend from a line item.
So it's not put in one program and take out another one?
Correct. Or if the board has a brilliant idea midway through the year and says, we would like to see if we could possibly add this program or this activity, we would go to the budget and see if we have enough money to move around, we can address it that way as well.
Thank you.
Sure.
Carol, do you want to add something?
Yes, sir. Before, and I guess it might come after the final decision or whatnot, but just to make sure that if we're looking at Plan B, you're getting ready to approve that, and in our notes, the 4 classroom addition, the building-wide HVAC, electrical upgrades, outside doors, etc. for Madisonville Middle and Telco Junior, building updates, electrical, bathroom remodel, ceiling grid lights, painting, etc. for those facilities. So once, or either then or now, do we want to rank those in order of the most, hey, this is top priority. We've got to get the 4 classroom addition because, again, as we all know, that building prices continue to increase daily. I mean, it's continually going up. With 2.1 million, if we estimate that a 4,500 or a 5,000 square foot facility is going to cost us between 1 to 1.2 million to erect just for those 4 classrooms, then that leaves you just over, or about $900,000 to do HVAC, electrical upgrades, outside doors, those types of things at Madisonville Middle School. So what I'm saying is we may or may not be able to complete everything in that juncture that we might think that we look at today. And I don't want you to come back to me later and be like, well, if you had it on the spreadsheet that we was going to get all this for 2.1 million and now you're telling me we only got this. I just want to make sure that we're all on the same page, that these numbers are all just budgetary numbers. The architecture fee, all that stuff will come into play with this. It'll all come in that big package. So I just want to make sure for that 2.1 million and that 1.625 million that we understand that we'll get what we can. But if there's a certain thing that we want, let me know. Once everything's approved, then this is the order that we'll try to go in until we run out of money. Unless you want to, change something different in that. But I just want to make sure that everybody's, aware of that. We'll push the money as far as we can. And then,
What is the order of need?
the order of need at Madisonville Middle School would be the 4 classroom addition.
Well, I'm talking about all the programs you were talking about. Is that the number one thing that's above the other ones?
Well, if we're talking about Plan B on the facilities, and that's the reason that they're voting, that y'all are voting for that, is Plan B. And the first thing that we would look at is that 2.1 million for Madisonville Middle and that 1.625 for Telco Junior High. That leaves us $3 million. That leaves us $3 million for all the other schools. And so we wouldn't take that part of that $3 million. Then we couldn't take it and put it into that. You see what I'm saying? Because then we got to make sure that we're getting some things for the other schools as well. That's why we did away with Plan A. So was to make sure that the rest of the schools could get something. So I'm just saying that we want to make sure that, or like I said, I just want to make sure that everybody's aware that we have a vision in our mind that something great is getting ready, and something is great is getting ready to happen if this is what we're choosing. We'll have this 4 classroom addition, and we'll take the rest of them and do it as far as we can. So that might mean that we get, maybe it's all the classrooms get HVAC, but then we might not be able to go into the gym and do HVAC in the actual gym because our classrooms is precedent over the gym. So they would be decisions like that would come up that either you're going to give me the authority to make, or I'm going to come back to you and say, okay, look, there's no way, that if we do the electrical upgrade, then, okay, well, we did the electrical upgrade or vice versa, we can't do this, or, there's this, but this is just budgetary numbers that we're looking at. Now, I just want to make sure that everybody, really understands that. I just don't want to get thrown under the bus later.
I want to ask the 4 classrooms. I mean, it could be 15 years before it could be 10 years before we could build. So they would be tore down also.
No,
or
that's
you
what
got
I
a
was talking
plan.
to Mr. Ingram about, that if you decide to go this route, then when working with the architect, when he designed these 4 classrooms, we would make sure that he designed this 4 classroom addition that it could be adapted to.
Okay.
That way, when we built the new school, then you would have a wing, and it would already be part of the process, that it would be worked into the new build, and we would tear the old down, and then leave that new four section, kind of like we did at the old Massville Primary School where the, alternative school is now,
Yeah,
kind of that same scenario.
okay.
Mr. Chairman, may I just speak one more time?
Sure you can.
Respond to what Philip had to say. Philip, we've trusted you a lot of years around here. We know you're worthy of being trusted. That's me speaking. Whatever the calls you make, I know they're the very best you can make.
Yes, sir.
So that's just me. I don't have, I'm sure other board members feel up with it. I say that, I shouldn't put words in anybody else's mouth.
Anyone else? All right, the motion on the floor is that we adopt Plan B. If you're in favor of that motion of adopting Plan B, say aye. Opposed, nay. Motion passes. All right, I've got some announcements I want to give us here before we adjourn. You should have gotten from TSBA an email last Thursday about fall district meetings. And we have in the past have either gone to east or southeast. Neither one of them's close. On the 7th is at Sequatchie County. That's southeast. And on the 28th of September is at Jefferson County. A lot of traffic issues going through Knoxville and rush hours. I'm sure you know that. Sequatchie may be a little further away, but on the 10th, I want us to decide which one we want to go to. Look at a map if you want to look at a map or whatever you want to do. But we'll decide on the 10th which one, because we have to let TSBA know which one we're going to, so they have whatever we are going to get at that meeting. Sandra needs to know by Friday if you're going to the summer law conference. By Friday. June 10th, 5 o'clock, it's a policy workshop. Also June 10th, 6:30 is our June regular board meeting. Anyone have anything before we adjourn? All right, meeting's adjourned. Now, let me say one other thing while you're sitting here. We're off, aren't we?